what is our passion? And all Moses can say is, I want to know you more. That's what Show Me Your Glory is about. And we can't know God without a personal relationship. It's as simple as that. You can know about him, you can read books. We can't know God without a personal relationship that's growing, that moves, I want to put it this way for the rest of the morning, from hand to face, from what he's done to who he is. It's the best way I know how to say it. From hand, always seeking his hand to do something for us, to his face, knowing him. And that's what Moses is doing. I've seen all this that you've done. Now I want to see you. I want to know you. I'm not interested in your hands anymore. You've already done more than I could have ever dreamed. I want to know you. Which is what Paul is saying in the power of his resurrection. To know him. I want to know him. I don't care how. Through suffering, through whatever. I don't care how. I just want to know you more. And when John's Gospel starts, I'm sure you're familiar with the beginning of John's Gospel when John the Baptist is pointing at him and Andrew and John start following Jesus. And the first thing that Jesus says in John's Gospel, he turns and he asks them, what do you want? What do you actually seek? That's his question. And they basically reply, where are you staying? We want to know where you're staying. And he says to them, come and see. And then John goes on to say, we beheld his glory full of grace and truth. You see, they're going to start from the hand. The journey that they are about to start on, Andrew and John. I mean, they were both there. Andrew's the one that brings the little boy. You know, we got some fish and some loaves here. They're going to see the hand like crazy. But if nothing else we get out of reading the Gospels is they transcend from hand to face. They really want to know Jesus. That is just part of what John is trying to describe. In the beginning, we wanted to know where he was staying, which is in the Father. But by the time it's over, John's got his head on his chest. He can't get any closer to his heart, because that's all he wants to do is hear his heartbeat. That's all I want to know. What about, that's whatever. That's all I want to know. I want to know him. We've said before, and we'll talk about it more next week, we can't know ourselves without a personal relationship with God that grows from hand to face. I mean, if that's all we're ever interested in is what he can do for us, I'll tell you what you walk away with. You may never thought about it this way, is that he's able to do anything. And everybody would agree. He's able to do everything. But because we don't know him, when he doesn't do what we think he should do, we go into hysteria. Because all we've ever known is his hand. That's all we've ever experienced. That's all we've ever wanted, quite frankly. Just do something for me. So when he doesn't do it, because we don't know him, we have a faith crisis. We stop praying. We go on a binge. Whatever it might be. Why? Because we never transition from hand to face. Because see, once you know his face, whatever he does, that's what Mary says. Whatever he tells you to do it. You'll be amazed. Just do it. Transitioning from hand to face. That's what Moses is on about here. Show me your glory. So let's look at the context of what Moses means when he says this. So we're going to start in Exodus 32, which you may remember. Exodus 32, I'm sure you all remember the golden calf thing, though. And Moses, it's repeated several times in the Bible, reminding Israel of that time in their history. So this is not a one-off. Putting it in context, Moses, who's kind of like their God figure. When I say that, the Jews, remember, they had grown up in Egypt. And the Egyptian form of worship and stuff, they liked, much like the Romans and the Greeks, they like having some kind of a God figure. They're gods to take on figures, so to speak. Anyway, Moses is leading them, so they're looking to him like he's their God almost. And he's gone for weeks, 40 days up on the mountain. It clearly says to us it was in the third month. Right now we're in the third month of the year. So if we came here in the beginning of January, now we're in the third month. It's in the third month. And it's at that point Moses goes up on the mountain for 40 days. And someplace in that 40-day period of time, they're starting to wonder what's going on. We don't get them saying, gee, I wonder. They don't say it quite that way, but putting it in their context. I mean, they've never been here before, okay? They've had this experience with the thunders and the lightnings and all that. It's dark, you can't see anything. Moses walks into it, and it's like, this has been a long time. I mean, it's been like 3, 4, 5 weeks now. Where is he? He must have got lost. That might have been one of the things. He's probably lost. He'll never come down again. Or somebody says, actually, if he walked in there, there's a good chance he's not coming out again. He's a dead man. Whatever, we don't know exactly what they're thinking, but we know that all of a sudden they decide that they need to build a god. And they decide that they're going to build a god, and they take the spoils from Egypt that you can read about. God had told them when they left Egypt, they would leave with a whole bunch of gold and all kinds of spoils. Good story. And they take all that, they melt it all down, make a golden calf. And actually, to be honest with you, so what? So you got a big golden calf. Who cares? That's not the issue, though, is what they did with the gold, making it into a calf. The issue is that they start looking at that golden calf, and they give the golden calf credit for getting them as far as they've gotten, and we're going to follow that golden calf into the future. In other words, it's called idolatry. They fall into idolatry in chapter 32. God is the one who led them out. God's the one that promised to get them to. He's the from and to, and they have decided, no thank you, we're going to make our own God that we're going to give the credit to. Now, there's no sense looking at it and saying, wow, that's really weird, because a lot of us are putting our trust in things, and we actually think the reason why I've gotten to 65 years old is because I did this and I did that. And instead of saying, by God's grace, I'm here today. And I got news for you. I don't know when I'm leaving, but it'll be when God says so, and it'll be His grace that'll get me from today till then, and He'll be my strength, and He will be all that I need. It's as simple as that. So there's a problem here. Exodus 32, verses 6 through 8.
Then they rose early on the next day, offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. And the Lord said to Moses, Go, get down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made themselves a molded calf, and worshipped it and sacrificed to it, and said, This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt.
So those are the verses that are kind of saying what I was just saying a moment ago, but the thing that hopefully will strike us is their lifestyle. Have some of this. Let's do that. Let's play. Let's eat and drink and be merry. I mean, that's what life is, isn't it? And God's saying, that's not my way, actually. They've turned from my way. That's not my way. To just do whatever they want, whenever they want. I mean, the idolatry is problematic, for sure. That's going to wreak havoc. But the lifestyle that they are leading, I don't know if you noticed when Danielle was reading it, when God deals with Moses, He says, your people. He doesn't call them my people now. He says, your people. And He says to Moses, the ones you brought out. Well, Moses didn't bring them out. God did. But something is already developing in the words that God is using Himself with Moses about what's going on. The bottom line is they are not walking in my way anymore. They are not walking in my way. Would you read verses 9 and 10?
And the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and indeed it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation.
By the way, stiff-necked is a farming term. It's a term that farmers used, which meant the animal has a stiff neck, therefore you just can't get them to go where they want to go, or where you want them to go. You're trying to get them to plow, you're trying to get them to go to the right. They can't do anything except keep their head down because they've got a stiff neck. They can't even lift their head up. And the term is being applied to God's people. They're stiff-necked. They're just not moving or will move in the direction that I'm trying to lead them. That's what he gets there. But anything that kind of sticks out to anybody about what Danielle just read? I mean, I've never had God say to me, I might have and I might not have heard Him, leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
But there's also something else in there. We know it's not a temptation because God doesn't tempt us. It's not a temptation, but it's a test. I mean, God's saying to him, Let me deal with this people, and I will make of you a great nation. You know, when I was originally going through this, I almost wanted to say, so what's our tipping point? What's our sellout point? At what point do we say, whoa, cool, goodbye, I'm going to be great. And this is all I got to do. In fact, God wants to. I'm just letting God do what he wants to do. He wants to wipe them all out and start over again. And they're going to come from me, Moses. God's not tempting him here, but there is a test, the way I see it and the way the story goes. It's called a love test. So how many people will we sacrifice along the way so that we end up in a great place? What's it worth? You see, if God does this, what he says to Moses, Moses will spend the rest of his life, well, to become a great nation, it only cost us, a couple million rebellious, idolatrous people anyway. They deserve to go to hell for crying out loud. It's an interesting situation Moses finds himself in, and it's an interesting test because God seems to be indicating this is what I want to do. And Moses has a choice now. Sign on the dotted line, let's get on with it. They've proven themselves to be unfaithful. They've proven themselves to be worthless. Or saying, wait a minute, those are people, messed up people. You refreshed their soul. You restored right relationship. You've done it all for them. They must be worth something. And you've called me as a leader to lead. How? By love. To lead by love. Not by fear. You've made it clear fear is not a good way forward. This is a love test. It's not a temptation, but there is a test going on here. And Moses is already fixed. Moses is already on his way seeking the face of God, not the hand of God. You want to make a great nation of me? Go ahead. You don't want to? Go ahead. Whatever you want to do is fine with me. Quite frankly, I'm not that interested. I am interested in my relationship with you and knowing you. As I know you, I know me. As I know me, I know you. As we know each other, then I will become the leader of love that you've called me to be. But it's got to start someplace. It's got to start someplace. And it's not going to happen because of all the miracles. It's only going to happen by seeking his face. Moses immediately, we won't read it, but Moses immediately intercedes. And actually in verses 11 through 14, he throws it back on God and says, your people. And the dialogue has begun. God is saying to Moses, your people, and Moses is saying, wait a minute, hold on. These are not my people. And I did not lead them out. You did. These are your people.